So how you doing? Hey, today I am working on Novice Lumberjack's Homelite Super XL Auto. I'm going to flip the camera around here in a second and kind of go over everything that I've done to it. But she had some issues and we tore her down on a live stream. So let me kind of give you a little review and show you what's going on. Alrighty. Alright, so there she is. It's a Homelite Super XL Auto Novice Lumberjacks. You can see she's a little bit, she's put together right now for the most part. I still got some work to do to it, so I'm actually waiting on the seal for this side to show up. It's on back order, and I actually got an email that is scheduled to ship tomorrow, but that'll be the second time I got an email that the schedule date changed. So we'll see, but that's what this saw is waiting on. Really, is the seal for this side. I do plan on doing a little muffler work to it. I don't know what, but I do plan on doing some muffler work to it. But whenever I tore this saw down, I did find some issues. So the main issue was in the cylinder. I thought the saw just had an air leak that needed dealt with. New seals, so forth. But as I tore into it, I just kept finding more and more issues. And I've discovered the cylinder was wore out. Basically, just from being ran, the bore of the cylinder was too large and the piston was flopping around in there. So I found another cylinder. She's not the greatest cylinder. She's definitely not a perfect cylinder at all. Now I noticed he did a little bit of port work to his cylinder, so I did a little port work to this cylinder. So, we pulled out a ported cylinder, we're putting in another one. But, you can see there is some exhaust cleaning up here. I actually did no changes to the exhaust timing at all. So, it's transfer work. I actually changed my number off the piston on this though. I didn't do it with the exhaust port, I did it on the piston. That's because I didn't want to do anything that would cause me to lose compression. So, I was trying to maintain as much compression as possible, and I changed my timing off of the piston itself. Now, I did my usual transfer work to this, so any of you who've been around for a while, all my normal stuff is done to the transfers of this. But this saw was sitting at a higher squish number than most of them. This one's sitting at, if I remember correctly, it's 85 thousandths of squish. Sometimes you'll find these saws that they're sitting over 100 thousandths. Sometimes you'll find them sitting at 40 thousandths. This one's sitting at 85. I prefer it to be closer to 40. This saw is not a squish band type cylinder. If you don't know what I mean, squish bands are one of those things that help performance. This one does not have one at all. So that's one of the reasons these Super XL Autos, you'll never really get them to perform fantastic unless you really want to get into a heavy mod and put a different head on it. It's a pretty big custom job if you want to go that route. But yeah, these don't have a squish band. So if you're wanting to port one of these, the squish band is one of those areas where you get the biggest performance gains. And since you don't have one, you're kind of limited to how much performance you can get out of them. Those are 130s, the XL 130s, the XL 76, and all those, they do have a squish band. Like here's one of those cylinders. You can see the squish band up there. This saw does not have one, so just imagine that flat spot up there at the combustion chamber. It's not there. It's just a rounded over dome. That's how these saws are designed. So it's one of those things. You just gotta work with what you got. Those cylinders there with that squish band. That's why these saws are capable of performing much better. So keep that in mind if you're looking to get a Homelite, performing a bit better than it does from the factory. These don't have a squish band. These do. Now the 925s, you'll find some of them don't have squish bands, some of them do. Some of it has to do with years, different models and all that stuff. So the 925 is one of those areas where, you know, you might get lucky and get one with a squish band. You might not get without a squish band. I can tell you they don't perform much different because of the RPM they're turning and everything. But if you're looking to get a lot of performance out of them, you definitely want to find one with a squish band. Now I did find some other issues. So, you know, we got a different cylinder on this. I put a brand new piston in it because the piston he had in there, I mean, it looked like it ate something. Put a nice big scoring up the one side of the piston. So, you know, it was either because it was rocking around and the transfer was digging into the piston, or it ate something. So it did get a new piston as well. The spark plug boot he had on here had a crack in it, right up through here. So I replaced it. He could have been shorting out and not known it. So I replaced the spark plug boot. I put a new seal on this side. I'm just waiting on the one on the other side. I got everything assembled here. We got new reeds installed. The carburetor's back on. I did nothing to the carburetor at all. So this is kind of where we're at. I'm waiting on a seal, then I can put all this together. And I'm considering doing some muffler stuff. Haven't decided. I might just throw the stock one on there, but we'll see. But that's where we're at. On Novice Lumberjack's little Homelite Super XL Auto. Now I have two saws here that I'm going to do for Novice Lumberjack. This is one of them, but he's got, what is it? Yeah, he sent me an XL76. And those you can get more performance out of than these XL Autos. So don't be surprised if you see more performance from the XL76. They are just capable of more power. These Super XL Autos, you know, you're limited to what you can get out of them. So I did what I could, and you know, I didn't go as far as building custom head and all that stuff. You know, I don't have my lathe yet, so I couldn't even consider doing that. And trying to get somebody to do it for an old Homelite like this, I wasn't going to try to venture down that road. This will be something he can run and cut, should run reliably, and you know, run well for one of these saws. So that's kind of the performance level we went for on this. Nothing hot, but runs good regardless, you know. Now I do have some other projects that are coming. They're going to be a little hotter. Some are going to be more hotter than others. Not all of them are going to be running on gas. So I'm currently working on getting parts in. A lot of parts. So it's kind of one of those things that once the parts get here, then we'll get into building it, you know. But that's where we're at. A little update on Novice Lumberjack Super XL Auto. As soon as those parts come in, I'll be able to finish this thing up and get her started on the break-in. I got to do some heat cycling and all that stuff. I actually have another one of these saws that I'm working on breaking in as well. I'm considering setting them out before they're fully broke in, just so I can get moved into other projects, you know. Typically, I prefer to run about 10 tanks through them, but I'm just running short on time anymore with being able to get out there and do some cutting. So I don't know. I might have to rely on the owner to take care of the break-in for me, and I'll probably have to figure out a way of instructing them how to break these in. These Homelites, they tune different than other saws. I'll say that. See, Homelites are one of those saws that the 4-stroke is supposed to be very close to the RPM of what the saw runs in the cut. So if the saw's not touching the wood, it should have a pretty good full-on 4-stroke. Now this Super XL Auto, after I did this port work, he'll have a little wider range between the 4-stroke and the RPM in the cut. But the stock ones, it's actually very close. So whenever you're tuning your Homelites, just make sure you're 4-stroking if you're not in the wood. Pretty noticeable heavy 4-stroke if you're not in the wood. I've ran some Max, and I can tell you they tune way different than these Homelites. In fact, if you try to tune a Homelite, the same way you tune a Mac, you'll probably burn up the Homelite. So keep that in mind. If you're playing with your Homelites and you have some Macs and other saws, they don't tune like other saws. They got to be tuned a bit richer. Make sure you're 4-stroking if you're not in the cut, and pretty heavily. Now the port jobs that I put on these, sometimes they don't 4-stroke. That's because I'm kind of turning them into more of like a dirt bike engine. I'm making them perform a little bit more like a dirt bike. So, the dirt bikes and stuff don't typically 4-stroke like a chainsaw does. So, you got to keep that in mind whenever you see me tuning these ported Homelites. Your factory ones, don't tune them the way I do. It's only because I have them ported the way that I do that they tune, the way that, they run. All your factory Homelites need to have a heavy 4-stroke if it's not in a cut. Don't tune them like your Macs or other saws where there's just a little bit of gurgle in the top end. Whenever you're free revving it, you will run the saw lean. So get that thing fattened up some and get her cutting the way she should be. Alrighty, but a little tip there on your tuning of your Homelites. It's all about the 4-stroking. Get them 4-stroking if they're not in the wood. They should sound awful if they're not making contact with the wood. So anyway, I thought you'd enjoy this little update on Bodie's Homelite Super XL Auto and where she's at. I'm just waiting on some parts and we'll be up and running. Alrighty, hey, catch you on the next one. Later.